Hi, this is Michael Chambers and Terrence Shanigan again, and we're back with some more mission critical budget talk for you. This is our 5th video in the series, and tonight on this video we're going to talk about the big budget drivers, the things that got us to where we are, that made our budget as big as it is. The first one here is the Department of Education. We always hear people talking about how we can't cut education because our student performance is going to drop and we're not going to have enough teachers. But the first issue that I want to bring up is the idea that we can have one superintendent for schools that only have 11 children. Now, it doesn't make any sense since all the superintendents make about $175,000 a year. In Anchorage, you have one superintendent for 50,000 students and over 100 schools. Yet, we have parts of Alaska that will have one superintendent supervising one principal with one teacher and 11 students. That concept doesn't make sense, and we're replicating this bad model over and over and over. And so the idea here would be, let's stop doing this funding of superintendents, and let's look at what the learning needs are and how we can better administer education, since many of the costs that we have, 44%, are sitting inside of the administration of education. Michael, did you want to talk about the next?
Sure. We have one island, Prince Wales Island, in Alaska, that actually has 4 separate school districts, which means 4 separate superintendents, 4 separate principals, probably 4 separate vice principals, and an entire staff on one island. We have 53 districts in the state of Alaska, school districts, for our size of 740. I think we have 150,000 students. We have 54 separate school districts. Well, obviously, there's a huge cost there, but what really upsets me all the time, Terrence, as you well know, whenever they talk about cutting education costs, they don't talk about the administration. They immediately go to talking about cutting teachers. And then on the third one there, $5,000 for districts for each homeschool student. So the state legislature allocates for each homeschool student $5,000, and it's sent to the home district of the homeschool student. And the district actually skims off $3,000 of that administrative cost and gives to the student $2,000 for their supplies and books and things that they need for the year. I think that's an outrageous administrative cost. You know, I could imagine that there might be something if the student was using the school facilities, like, say, going to band or, you know, using the gym or things like that. I could see an actual cost there. But in actuality, $3,000 for administrative costs, I would much prefer to see that $5,000 go right directly to the homeschooler, because in actuality, you'd probably have a whole lot more parents that would consider homeschooling their children, which would save the state of Alaska about $17,000 per student.
Well, and think about it. If we did some kind of a consolidation of superintendents, we'd be able to take all of Prince of Wales Island and give them one superintendent. Or you might even have the Southeast region only have one superintendent. We need to start thinking about a different model for delivering education, and we must look at bringing down the cost of administration. And that's where the biggest cost drivers are within education. Let's go on to the next topic. This is Department of Health and Human Services. The most outrageous thing to me is that Governor Walker fully supports, along with the legislature that's approving this budget, paying $6 million in bonuses to our state bureaucrats. These are people, many of them whom the governor appointed and the legislature approved for them to do work within the district. Why are we paying bonuses? We're not a company. We also don't have the cash to be giving out bonuses like that. $6 million your PFD was used to pay bonuses to state employees.
Well, it's not as if they're saving money. You know, if there was a situation where they were actually cost cutting, well, you know, I could probably scratch my head and get behind that. But the fact of the matter is, there's no cost cutting going on in the Department of Human Health Services. So in Medicaid, we also have 27 more options above the requirement of Medicaid. Medicaid has a certain requirements, and the state of Alaska has actually 27 more. So, you know, we just can't afford all these options. Our cost is outrageous. In any other state, I think the healthcare cost is around 17% of the total budget. In the state of Alaska, it's 34%. And here's a prime example of us paying a Cadillac plan for Medicaid, which is expanding rapidly because of the third calculation, which I'll let you handle there, Terrence.
Well, there's a calculation that's used that basically says that if you earn over a certain amount of money, you're not eligible for Medicaid. And that dollar figure is $1,050. Where this is significant is this is tied to the amount of what you're getting in your permanent fund dividend check. There's a reason why your dividend check does not exceed $1,050, because the talking point narrative from the governor, which is we have 12 to 18,000 needy people who need Medicaid, that's only a true statement if they don't get the full PFD of $2,200 plus this year, and they keep that dollar amount below $1,050 according to the MADI calculation, M-A-D-I.
You know, this is gonna be real interesting because this year there's two bills out there. One from the Senate is for $1,000 PFD, and the one from the House is $1,250, which goes over the limit for the MADI calculation. So it'll be real interesting to see what comes out of legislation this year, whether or not they're going to hold it below 1,000 so they can drive more people onto Medicaid, where they'll be eligible, or they'll take it above 1,250, so there won't be. So it'll be real interesting to see what happens there.
But even if they take it above 1,250, I bet you in some way the governor may try to veto that 1,250 and bring it back to 1,000 or 1,050 or 1,049. So that it gets 12 to 18,000 people.
Well, and the particular reason why is he obviously wants to drive the Medicaid program up. But unfortunately, if you listen to the federal government, they're talking about, lowering that Medicaid cost to states. And if they did that here in the state of Alaska, I'm telling you, we'd be underwater like big time. We already are underwater. So it's just a matter of time. And the federal government is not going to pay that forever. In fact, they have a couple of years, and then they're going to lower it from 100% to 98%, down to 90% within 10 years. And it's just inconceivable where we're going to get the money, since we're already $3 billion underwater.
So we did find a lot of savings. We've only highlighted a few of these issues with you in this particular video, but we're going to be bringing you more about the Department of Health and Human Services as well as Department of Education, and show you that between these two departments, we were able to find about $400 million combined in savings. And there's a lot of things, including mission drift, that these two departments are doing that they shouldn't be doing. None of that has been touched. This budget's not been cut to the bone. Stay tuned, because we're going to be bringing you more on these two departments and showing you some of the real nasty stuff that the budgets have been hiding in there and keeping from the Alaskan public. Thank you, and we'll bring you more. Stay tuned.
Take care.